Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, we've got some pretty fascinating stories. First up, Cardano price skyrockets 15% after CEO Hoskinson announces new alliance with Price Waterhouse Cooper. And our man John McAfee is back at it again, causing trouble and saying that Bitcoin is essentially garbage. Also, there's an invisible global currency that's 24 times bigger than Bitcoin, and we'll end it up with Scam of the Day. And we'll do this at the very end. And I want to say thanks again for everybody who clicks on the link in the description and goes to report these scams, because we got another one yesterday and I'm really happy with that. So thank you very much. Let's get on to the stories of the day. So first up, Cardano skyrockets 15%. Now this is one of my holdings. As you know, I got my top 6. I've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. I've got Chainlink, EOS, and Cardano. Now, I've used to have like over 40 different coins in the past, but I've narrowed it down to these 6, and these are the ones that I'm sticking with. So all your different projects that you might have, I'm sure they're great projects. I'm sure they're going to do well. I mean, I hope they do well for you. But these are the ones that I picked. And when I see stories like this, I start to get excited, because this is what Charles Hoskinson said. So getting into it, ADA surged by over 15% in the last 24 hours. That's always great. This move comes after Cardano creator Charles Hoskinson announcement about forging a new partnership with multi-billion-dollar auditing firm Price Waterhouse Cooper. And I was like, well, who the heck is that? I've never heard of those people in my life. I'm sure they're big, but I don't know who they are. So let's see what they're all about. So if you go to their website, at first they just talked about how they're auditors and they help businesses with tax services. And then when you break it down and look even deeper, these are all the services that they have. And it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all different types of businesses as far as growth goes. So they have consulting, alliances, deals, workplace, the future, risk and regulatory, tax services, which makes sense, people and organization, and marketing and deals and acquisitions. So if you are an upcoming business, this looks like, and you're have done a good amount of growth, this looks like your one-stop shop for everything that you would need to make it to the next level and to shore up any of the different shortcomings that you might have. So this was a pretty good article. Let's take a look at it. So according to Hoskinson, the consultancy behemoth will be expected to basically come up with a consolidated commercialization strategy that will make Cardano attractive to businesses all over the world. McCann, the firm responsible for Cardano's rebranding, will provide Price Waterhouse Cooper with the necessary input. After consolidating all information from IOHK, which is the part of Cardano, Emergo, and the Cardano Foundation, PwC will then schedule multi-day workshops where we'll officially unveil the commercialization strategy. In short, PwC, or Price Waterhouse Cooper, will ensure that every information about Cardano is well aligned as it laser focuses in on the product marketing. So this comes down to marketing, and it's one of those areas I do pretty well in, and I've been doing online social media marketing for my businesses for 7 years now. And I can tell you that it really comes down to what you can sell your customers. It doesn't matter how great you are. And I always use this analogy. Right now, I don't know where you're at. I have no idea where you're at. Statistically, most of you are in the United States. That's what my channel tends to, 50% or so. But then we got a lot in UK, in Europe, in Italy, and India, and Australia. So like I said, I don't know where you're at. I have no idea. I don't know what city you're at, state, province. I have no idea. But I'm going to ask you a question. What's the best hamburger in your town? Again, I have no idea where you're at. What's the best hamburger? And everybody's got their own favorite. Like, oh, there's this place called Bronco's Burger. There's this place called Pete's down the street. It's just awesome. And I'm here to tell you, you're all wrong. And here's the thing. The best hamburger, statistically speaking, as far as sales go, is McDonald's. Now, I didn't ask you what the best hamburger as far as tasting and maybe quality and maybe real meat, whatever. Statistically, sales-wise, everybody's getting crushed by McDonald's. And the reason is because they have fantastic marketing. And not just marketing that you're going to see on advertisements on social media type of thing, but they have great marketing as far as just word of mouth, and then the location. There's one every single place you can look for. So if you have a great product, it doesn't matter how great your product is, how good your hamburger is, how good your business, how good your financial services, it doesn't matter. It all comes down to marketing. How great is your marketing? And that's really what it comes down to, what separates a company that is going to make it and not make it. So when Cardano comes out and says, look, we've got a problem, and our problem is we have different shortcomings. We're really good at writing code. We're really good at blockchain. We're really good at making things work in this sector, but we need help with X. And they went out there and they found a powerhouse and said, look, we're going to be huge. We're already making huge strides, so help us reach the next level. And I can tell you, this makes me incredibly bullish on this company, because every type of company that can look out and find like, hey, we need to get the best, brightest, and smartest people in our group. If we can do that, we can take everything to the next level and we can grow massively. Usually companies that do that do pretty well. The companies that don't do that, where they just go, you know what, we're awesome, we don't need anybody, or we need minimal help, those are the ones that fail because they have too much pride, and that's a problem. So I kind of got worried with Cardano a little bit, because I thought, man, these guys, they take forever. They're not actually doing things quickly. They're taking too much time. But what do I know? So everybody's different as far as businesses go. I'm kind of like, let's slap it together, see how good we can do, and we'll fix it on the back end. And Charles Hoskinson and Cardano are like, you know what, we're going to make sure that it's fantastic and it works well before we roll everything out. And I can tell you, if for blockchain, I can see the reason for that, right? If things get screwed up, you can lose a lot of money. A lot of people could get hurt. A lot of people get taken advantage of. So sure, same way with like Boeing. I would really like those people to make sure that they roll out some great aircraft. I don't want something that's held together by bubble gum and duct tape. Make sure that it works great. So sure, I can see the whole rationale behind it, and I like this move. I think this is a great move for them. Moving on. Hoskinson was one of the attendees of the World Economic Forum that took place in Davos, Switzerland last week. During the event, Hoskinson explains that he witnessed a high degree of interest in Cardano as a platform. And I can tell you right now, Cardano was great because they are on that next second, third generation level as far as smart contracts go. And I believe that just as Ethereum really pushed itself up for the last couple of years, especially with DeFi or decentralized finance, I believe Cardano is going to be right next to him, because you can't just always have one. There has to be kind of like a helper. And I think that Cardano is like that, and it may even overtake Ethereum as time goes on. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see what actually happens. And that's why I've changed my strategy a little bit. I'm putting a little bit more into Cardano. And the way that I purchase Cardano is through eToro. In the link below, if you use my link and you sign up with eToro and actually deposit $50, they will match you $50. So if you're interested in something like that, go ahead and use eToro. Works out pretty well. Had a lot of people sign up so far, so pretty happy with that. And then looking at as far as like investments go, and like when to pull out, when to do this, and when to do that. A lot of people have been, telling me like, hey, you need to learn TA. And you know what? They're probably right. I do need to learn technical analysis. I'm not fantastic at all with it. So I've reached out to people, and they've agreed to help. So we'll see what happens. However, as far as technical analysis, I'm still not sold on it. I mean, I'm just not sold. And the reason that always sticks with me is there's two things that always stick in my head. First, if you look up on any Google search that you do and say, how successful is trading? How successful are day traders? How successful are long-term traders? You'll see that the statistic is between 80 and 96% lose money. Let that sink in. So there's only a few people that are actually ahead in the game. And for all you people out there like, oh man, I made 10 grand last week or whatever. You're just like my friends in Vegas, who I would ask them, hey, how'd everything go last week? Oh, it was awesome. I got a big score. I won $1,000 on a hand. Well, great. Are you up or down for the year? Oh yeah, I'm down, but I had a great day. I had a great week last week. That's one thing. That's what I always think about. The second thing I always think about is Warren Buffett's bet. So Warren Buffett's bet, if you're not familiar with Warren Buffett, that's kind of odd in this sector, but Warren Buffett is one of the greatest investors of our time. And what he does is he doesn't trade. He is a long-term holder, and he believes in fundamental analysis, not technical analysis, but fundamental analysis. He looks at the company itself, and that's why you hear me talk about Ripple. You'll hear me talk about Cardano. You'll hear me talk about the Ethereum Foundation, which I need to talk about more, and talk about like the teams that are behind them, who's doing what, how they're making these investments, how they're looking out for the long term, how they're pulling in the best and brightest. These are the types of things that build a business. All these different things where we look at patterns and charts and everything else, great, sure, whatever. But for me, for the long-term type of thing, I'm looking at the businesses behind the business. And I think that's the way to go. But Warren Buffett does the same thing. And in 2008, he issued a challenge to the hedge fund industry. Hedge funds, they just go out there and go, look, they say, these 20, 30, 100 stocks are going to go up. Put your money in all these different assets. Okay, or funds. Great, you do that, and hopefully it goes up. Now, Warren Buffett doesn't believe in that. He's like, just do the index, the S&P 500, which is the S&P 500 is like the top 500 companies that are doing well, and it always changes depending on how well they do. You don't have to do anything. All the data is being pulled by as far as like, how great these companies are doing. You put your money into that and hold. That's exactly what Buffett does. So he made this bet to the hedge fund industry. And he said, look, I am going to say that your performance in a hedge fund, I will beat you every time with the S&P 500. And he's going to bet $1 million. And the only company that stepped up was Protege Partners. Out of all the hedge fund managers, all the hedge fund companies, Protege goes, I'll take that bet. I'm good to go. So this happened in 2008. There was an op-ed in May. Protege co-founder who left the fund in 2015 conceded defeat ahead of the contest scheduled wrap up on December 31st, 2017, writing, for all intents and purposes, the game is over and I lost. Buffett's ultimately successful contention was that, including fees, costs, expenses, an S&P 500 index fund would outperform a hand-picked portfolio of hedge funds over 10 years. So think about that. Are you in the game for 6 months, 8 months, a year? Are you in it for like the long haul, like 2, 3, 5, 7 years, something like that? That's kind of the way that I'm looking. And that's the way that Warren Buffett looks, even though Warren Buffett says Bitcoin's rat poison squared, whatever. The investment strategy is still sound. He said it would outperform a hand-picked portfolio. The bet pit two basic investing philosophies against each other: passive and active investing. Passive, you just say, I'm putting my money in that and I'm waiting. Active investing is I'm going to make small trades throughout the days, weeks, and months, but I'm going to consistently buy and sell. So essentially, here's what it came down to. At the end of that 10 years, the index fund was 85% up, and the hedge fund average was 22%. Let that sink in. And this wasn't like some run-of-the-mill mom and pop. This is like one of the biggest hedge fund managers companies out there. And they still got whooped. So when we're talking about technical analysis and fundamental analysis, this is what I believe in because it works. It's just boring. It's not sensational. It's just not like you can make, $10,000 in a week and you can do these things and all this stuff. I don't get into it. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work, that it's not for everybody, just not for me right now. So I'm going to do my best to learn it because why not? And I'm going to try to do like small little trades here and there and see what happens. You never know. I could be totally wrong. Everybody could be totally wrong. I'm not married to anything except my wife, so we'll see what happens. All right. Next up. Our man John McAfee came out 11 hours ago or 12 hours ago, depending on when you see this. He says, it's pretty funny. First of all, he said Bitcoin is the hot meal of crypto. Actually, that was from Crypto Wolf, SCN. Bitcoin is the hot meal of crypto, and he just retweeted that. Great. Then he says whichever Bitcoin maximalist came up with the term S-coin for all of the coins was brilliant. But we all know that the future of crypto rests with the altcoins. Bitcoin, old, clunky, no security, no smart contracts, no dApps, is the true shitcoin. And that's what he believes. Now, for all my Bitcoin maximalists, where everybody's head just exploded because that term or that phrase came out of John McAfee, you have to take this with a grain of salt. Who's saying it right now? First of all, I did a video on John McAfee when he first came out, and he said that Bitcoin was worthless ancient technology. And there's a couple different articles I want to go over quickly and just talk about. Remember who you're dealing with. John McAfee promoted a Steven Seagal crypto scam coin. John McAfee also, on December 15th, 2017, tweeted that a coin called SafeX constituted the majority of his holdings. That was a lie. Minutes after McAfee tweeted about SafeX, the price spiked 92%, according to the site CoinMarketCap, blah, 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 from 0.014 to like a penny to a high of essentially almost 3 cents, before settling down for a more gradual rise up to its current price of 3 cents. And does that coin even exist? No. It doesn't exist. I mean, it's probably out there, but I'll be honest with you, not much going on with that. And he did this time and time and time again. So what he would do is he would just take money, he would show the coin, he would talk about it in a tweet. I remember this is in 2017, and people were talking about, like, just listen to his tweet, invest in the scam coin, put money into it, and then quickly take it out, which leaves everybody holding the bags. Now, I never did that. I thought that was a dirty move. I would never do that, honestly. But that's exactly what happened, and it happened over and over and over and over again. So remember who you're dealing with. Remember where it comes from. But that was from John. I will say this, though. There was a great interview with a gentleman his name is Kim.com. Funny name. I don't know if he changed that for real, but he's one of those internet business builders, and he's been a lot of problems with the law himself. He's no saint. But I will tell you this, he had Tone Vase and Jimmy Song on, who are both Bitcoin maximalists, and he was talking to them about Bitcoin, about how slow it is and clunky, and I'm going to get into a little bit, but it was interesting to hear about it because, look, Bitcoin as a store of value, I'm still not sold on it. I've done videos about it before. I think it'll do awesome in the short term, and I hold it. You saw my holdings, but I just don't know if it is really all that great and what it's cracked out to be, and essentially, what's been said about it. All right, let's move on to the next story. The invisible global currency that's 24 times bigger than Bitcoin. This made me sit up and take notice. This was in Forbes. And essentially what this invisible currency is, Visa and Mastercard created a global currency. And I was like, interesting. It says here, over 80 million stores accept Visa or Mastercard with one of their cards. In your wallet, you can buy stuff anywhere in the world. So that's true. I mean, really, that's every credit card I've ever gotten has 2 logos on it, Visa or Mastercard. These days, it seems like Visa is winning out, but yeah, that's it. And then there's one called American Express, but I don't think anybody uses that. But yeah, they have done that. So the question came up, well, if it is a global currency, can it do, cross-border payments? And I can tell you right now from experience, no. I've got an Amazon business, and to pay with credit card to Alibaba it's a nightmare because the fees are high because you're doing this. It's just the percentages themselves. It was almost outlandish, and I didn't do it at all. I actually ended up using PayPal, as a matter of fact. It wasn't too bad. But it still was expensive, and it still took a little bit of time for all the different things to get verified. I don't know what the heck it was, but it sucks. I try not to do it as much as I can anymore. Anyhow, moving on down the column. So it gets into the weeds about sending money and how the banks, but I thought it's interesting to see like how the banks, then Visa, MasterCard, then PayPal, Venmo, and now blockchain. So what the article says is sending money no longer means writing a check and waiting 3 days for it to clear. And if you're like under 30, you have no idea what that means. Or maybe you have a slight clue, but I can remember people in line of a grocery store, they would like whip out a check, and it was like normal. They would write a check, they'd have to run it through, the manager had to come over there and check it out, and it would really take 2 to 3 minutes. And these days, like I just saw it like a month ago, and everybody's like, what the hell is going on up there? And it was a check, wholly of the check. But yeah, they used to be like commonplace, not anymore. Going on, it says, now you can send and receive money instantly with PayPal's Venmo. Roughly 50 million Americans use Venmo every month. You can even pay your taxes with PayPal. I had no idea that was a thing, so great. So this goes into what we were talking about as far as CBDC, central bank digital coins. When people talk about how banks and central bank digital coins will take over crypto, I'm reminded of PayPal and Venmo. The thing is, banks are not innovators. Banks are not out there on the cutting edge. Banks just want the status quo. They don't want to innovate. They want to make things faster. They like friction. They're like, you know what? This is good because you got to keep coming back to us. You'll come back. And all these different problems that the bank has and how big they are and how connected they are. I remember when PayPal came out and people were talking about like, no one's going to use that. The banks will just come up with something better and different. And guess what? They did. Venmo. Same thing. When Venmo came out, like, they'll come up with something else, and it'll take over and it'll crush Venmo. Well, they haven't. I mean, they have Zelle, I mean, for all intents and purposes, but PayPal is still picking up Venmo is still picking up partnerships left and right, and they are in the hunt. So with all this different power and all the different things that the banks have, why couldn't they crush PayPal and Venmo in the beginning? Because they're not innovators. They're not innovators. So all this talk about central bank digital coins, they may do it, but they're going to be clunky, slow, and I don't think they're going to work that well. And they're going to need some kind of bridge currency that actually works. And it's going to be XRP. And that's what I believe, truly. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. Moving on. It talks about, have you ever used Square's little white box that swipes credit cards? It plugs into your smartphone and turns into a cash register. Over 2 million small businesses use it to accept cards instead of cash. And that's true, but you know, Square is one of those apps that they did their own processing. And you know, if your card on the other side has it, then sure, 2.9% plus 30 cents, I think, is the typical rate these days. That's how much I pay for everybody who pays for my services online. But yeah, that's how it goes. And I think with Square coming up and Jack Dorsey, I think this is part of the reason I think Bitcoin is going to be big, because Jack Dorsey is a huge proponent of Bitcoin. And he even put out the Lightning Development Kit for all the different developers to make transactions easier with Square to use Bitcoin. So look, I know we talked about in the last segment about, you know, clunky and slow and, you know, no smart contracts, but it's still going to be big. It still has name recognition, still has a first mover advantage, and it's still on the tips of the tongue of most people, and especially financial institutions. So I still think it's going to be big. I don't know what the long term is, but it's going to happen. And it also talks about after getting a credit card, getting a credit card no longer requires filling out piles of paperwork and answering a banker's questions. Smartphone giant Apple made a splash when it debuted its shiny new titanium credit card last August. And I was like, that's right. But I just thought it was another credit card. I didn't really pay much attention. So I thought, what does that look like? Is it really that worth it? So I took a look on the website. Pretty cool. Fees don't help you. We don't have them. No annual fees. That's huge. No foreign transaction fees or late fees. No fees, period. And it goes on to talk about no hidden types of fees. And if you use credit card for your business, like I have to sometimes as far as liquidity goes, it sucks because they hit you with fees, and for, you know what, the profit that you thought you had, you do not have because you had to use these different credit cards. And I don't use them that often. I try to avoid them, but sometimes it is unavoidable. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, I could get into that. I'm gonna have to actually take a look. But I remember going through and like having to fill out like a huge long form for a credit card, and they say, hey, yeah, here's $500 or whatever it was. And you know, now things are different, but I looking at this article and I'm like, you know what? Maybe as time goes on, banks are going away. You know, they've closed banks left and right. They closed the bank right down the street from me because there's no foot traffic. Who goes to a bank anymore? No one goes. I mean, rarely do we go to a bank. So maybe Visa and Mastercard will be the new one. Who knows? But let's go on. So this article says, these disruptors will end banks as we know them. Most Americans just want a fast and convenient way to manage their money. And this goes into the Kim.com interview. And he was talking about how he's created multiple online businesses. One of those was Mega Download, and it was huge. It was just enormous type of business. And what he told Jimmy Song and Tone Vays, he said, "Look, you guys talk about Bitcoin, how great it is, but it's just exactly what McAfee said. He goes, it's old, it's clunky, it's slow." And I'm telling you right now, when people get into it, not people like you, but the mass people that are out there, 20 to 30, 50% of the population goes, we need something. And they look at Bitcoin, they're not going to use Bitcoin. Like, you're going to tell me it takes that long? Even with the Lightning Network, it doesn't work as well as it should. And this is after a long time. So he said, look, guys, they're going to go to something that's cheap, that's something that's lightning fast, and is frictionless. And those types of things are what people do because inherently we are lazy and cheap. Let's just be honest. So he's right. He's totally right. Now, if we're looking at that store of value type of argument, I guess. But Kim.com had a pretty good rebuttal comment about that. And I think this article also goes to highlight that. Convenient way to manage their money. So we'll see. Moving on, it says what few people realize is all the money disruptors I just mentioned are plugged into Visa and Mastercard's networks. Apple designed its titanium card to resemble its sleek products, but did you know it runs on Mastercard's network? And credit cards from PayPal, Square, and Stripe all have Visa or Mastercard logos. These disruptors aren't ripping out the pipes of our financial system and trying to cut out Visa and Mastercard. Instead, they're partnering with them. And this comes down to the last part of this article. Will these be the new banks of the future? Visa, MasterCard, blockchain, all working together. Will that be the banks of the future? One that we don't go into, but one that we step into via our browser or our phone. I don't know. I'll tell you this, though. Banks are on the decline. We don't go to banks. We don't use them. I mean, there's certain times when, we have to, but it's very rare. And the next question I had was, will Ethereum be the new Visa? As everyone builds on Ethereum. How about DeFi, decentralized finance? I mean, there's also lending platforms as far as blockchain goes. So isn't that what Visa and MasterCard do? They're like a lending platform. They advance you credit to buy things. You pay them off slowly at a percentage rate. Well, what if Ethereum could do that with DeFi, but instead of having it at whatever the interest rate that you have, 5, 6, 7, 2.9%, it goes down to 0.5. Think about that. What if they could do that and make it very frictionless, very easy to do, but they drop the rates with no annual fees and no hidden fees, just like what we had with Apple Card. I can tell you right now, I'm pretty sure Apple has some kind of interest rate, whatever it is. But if they could drop it down, sure. Because guess what? We're lazy and we're cheap. And then it comes down to this. What about XRP and Visa working together? Well, I can tell you that Visa acquired Ripple partner Earthport about a year ago. I know there's been rumblings and talks about XRP and Visa teaming up together, but just like how it's stated here in this article, it talked about how they're not ripping out the infrastructure, they're actually partnering together with Visa and MasterCard, and I think that's how it goes, right? You partner with somebody that already has the track laid, and you work together and make things even better than what it is. But we will see. All right, thanks for sticking with me through the rants. If you could hang out for a couple more minutes, we're going to do the scam of the day. I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for doing your jobs. Not your jobs, for listening to me do my job, which is inform you about these different scams. So also, I'm going to call out Stephen D. Thank you so much for notifying us of these scams. Some of these things I don't even see that you see, so thank you very much. Also, Stephen, do me a favor and send me an email so we can get together and talk about some of these scams as well. Now, we're doing great. There was one that has been sticking around for a while, and I was like, why is this one up here? It was a Ripple XRP official, and I was like, why the heck is this thing still up? I don't understand. It was the one that looks all jacked up. And I was like, why is this happening? So the reason why this is still up, I think YouTube hasn't taken action, because in the description it says, join our 100 million XRP giveaway, and there's a link. But when you go to the link on Medium, it's not available. So I'm going to say that this is a scammer that's been busted already. So I put them as removed. So great. But we still have things like this nonsense up. Hey, there's McAfee. And this is when he was talking about how great Bitcoin was. Anyhow, in the description, Well, first of all, let me back up. This is why we do these things. We do these things because 2020 is going to be a great year. And as new people come in, we need to protect them because they get scammed. Because they don't know what the hell's going on. They're like, what's an airdrop? You know, what's my public key? What's my private key? I don't know. What's going on with, I don't understand what this is. You tell me there's a wallet, but it has nothing in it, just some keys. That makes no sense. So they're confused already, right? So they come here and they're like, what? Maybe this is how airdrops work. I give you 0.1 Bitcoin. I get a Bitcoin back. Cool, I'll do that. And they lose their money. And that person tells 10 people tells 100 tells 1,000. We can't let that happen because as people come in, we need to make this as hospitable as possible because we want them to come in here and see what it's all about and invest and, and the community grows. So what we're looking for is, first of all, we take a look at the comments in any type of video, and we've got a pretty good red flag here. It looks like there's a lot of scams. I think One Mullet said it best. Eloquent. So even if you go to a comment section and you can't leave a comment, that's a red flag. If everything's positive but you can't leave a comment, that's a red flag. In this one, you can leave a comment, but people are all over the place going, this is a scam. That's a red flag. But we're not going to report it yet because we don't know if it's a scam. We can't trust other people. But we can take a look at this. This is what I call an asymmetrical giveaway. To verify your address, just send from 0.1 Bitcoin to 10 Bitcoin, and you'll get from 1 to 100. So essentially, they're going to give you more money than what you give. Nobody's doing that. You're not special. Nobody loves you. Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. I'm just kidding. Nobody is going to give you more money than what you put in. Okay, that's all you got to remember. So get that through your head right now. Keep your money because it's very easy to get separated from it. All right, so now that we've confirmed this is a scam, what do we do? Very simple. We're going to downvote. Already did that. Click on these three little dots, and we're going to report. Now, also, to find the scam of the day, I forgot to mention this, in the description of every one of my videos there's a section that says Scam of the Day. And there's a link that is going to send you to this nice little section here. It's a Google spreadsheet, and you can find all this information and just click on there and do what we're doing right here, which is downvoting. Clicking on let me go back, three dots, report, say it's spam or misleading, choose one, it's a scam, choose next. This is a scam, and you can put in whatever else you want, and just click report, and you're done for the day. You've done your civic duty. You've done great work. Thank you. Everybody's clapping. All right. That is it. I want to say thanks again for sticking to this part. This is probably the most important part of the video. If you want to check out some other stuff, I'm going to link that video that we just saw about John McAfee if you want to take a look at that, about all his shenanigans from back in the day and what he said as far as Bitcoin just about 3 weeks ago or so, about how much it sucks. And that's his thing. And also, we'll talk about the Bull Run Basics. I think that's a good one to put up there. Bull Run Basics, if you're not familiar with it, it's what to do when the bull run happens, because you're only going to have about 3 weeks to get out. So are you prepared? Are you prepared? Are you set up right financially and mentally? And that's it. I will see you